Okay, welcome back. This is part two of my presentation. So I just wanted to move on and kind of talk about growth and fixed mindset. Um, no one better to explain this than Carol Dweck. I would play the video for the group, explain that most of us have a fixed mindset, and we need to transfer into the growth mindset in order to help our students and be prepared for the task of differentiating instruction. Again, we all have seen the video, so I'm not going to spend time there. Um, one size does not fit all. This was actually one of the titles in one of the readings we've done. It was actually Mann and Willis, differentiated instruction. So this is what scares all teachers, right? Now that we learned about what differentiation is, what it means, why we're going to do it, like what now? You're getting thrown to the wolves now. As a teaching profession, nobody really wants to put more demand on what we already do. And so I would try to, tell the group we need to relax. This is how we should approach our work. And so how do we differentiate? So first, we must learn our audience. And there's different ways we can do that, and I'll talk about that as well. There's different ways to differentiate. We can differentiate the process, the product, or the content. The process, I look at it as like the activities. What are we doing in order to differentiate? Are we just going to do a lecture? So I think the process is what I need most practice in. You may need more practice in other areas, but I need to vary my activities and make sure I'm tapping into all my learners. Product is your end result. So your product can be a group project. It could be a presentation. It could be all sorts of things. And so that also needs to be differentiated. And content can be tapping into certain main ideas of your content, kind of cutting out the fat and making sure you're only teaching what needs to be taught. Many of our students come into our classroom already having a baseline understanding of what we're about to teach that day. So a big main idea that came up with differentiating is flexible grouping. I'd like to talk about that as well. Varying instruction, practice, and assessments. So this is kind of tapping into that process and content. So we could talk about that as well. And there's no better people to learn from than each other. And so I'd probably do a breakout group, allow each everyone maybe pick a product, a content, and process, and kind of play a matching game. And teachers can kind of learn from their colleagues what they've already been doing in the classroom, what's been effective. Process flowchart. I took this from one of Tomlinson's readings that we've had, and I would leave this for the group, but this breaks down nicely exactly how she thinks about differentiating. It's like a nice little flowchart, and I know I'll be using this as well. But here you see the content, process, and product that we talked about. Readiness, interest, and learning profile. And here's a bunch of activities that you can participate in depending on what you're trying to differentiate for. So I thought this was very helpful, and I would probably supply this as a handout. One less thing. So as I said before, this could be overwhelming, throwing more things at teachers, already demanding tasks. But Professor here, Jessica Wetmore, put this in a nice, kind way, and I thought that after reading this, you may think that it's less demanding. One less thing to worry about. So I'll just read it. As I said several others above, I encourage teachers I have the privilege to interact with to simply try to include one firmly differentiated activity, lesson, a month. And I mean a good one. That's how she said it. I mean, I know that's how I'm reading it now, but I know that's how she said it. Give yourself the grace of just one, and in 2 years, you'll have one every other week. In 4 years, one a week. Yes, of course, you will have to modify and flex it from year to year, depending on your classroom players, but you will have a firm foundation to do this upon. I thought that was a great advice, and I just wanted to pass that on to all of you. All right, choosing to teach all students. If we can think back about my regret, I regretted that I kind of shunned or didn't give my all to my my one group. So this is coming back to that ideology that we need to teach all students. We need to make that choice. It's about accepting the ideology that all students may need something different. It's about rephrasing the challenging questions and to questions that are attainable and more humanizing. So we're just trying to buy into the ideology. And so here are some things. Let's take a moment and think about our regrets that we discussed in the beginning of this session. So what changes would you have made? Do you want equity for all, not just those in the middle? We are not perfect, nor are our students, but don't we want to thrive, to do the best that we can? And so these questions can be discussed open forum, and we can just kind of tap into the changes we could have made and find some solutions and make sure that maybe we can learn from one another. How to for diverse learners. Here's a nice little chart I thought was helpful. Again, this would be another handout. We could also discuss this depending on time, but I think students would, the group would like to kind of read this on their own. Reframing the questions. This was one of the last stated summaries. I think it was in our summary in Thompson's readings. Reframing the question, making it more humanizing. And so I'll leave this here. I won't read this all, but you can see the tone that she has decided to take, the positivity course that she has decided to take instead of becoming more restrictive and looking at faults. Next part of my presentation is what's the diagnosis? All things diversity are true and should still be practiced when needed. So everything you've learned in college, yes, keep that with you. I'm not saying throw that out. This is something you need to bring into your classroom as well. And that's what I meant by that statement. New to me is learner's temperament. I think that I would just give this group the test that we took or a modified version, whatever I felt was applicable for the meeting. But I just think that was quite the learning experience. I actually gave one to my wife. I thought that it was very interesting, and it was quite a discussion in our household. We even try to break down our children's temperaments, but I will be using that this school year, first couple days, and I definitely will want my students to be aware of what their own temperaments are, and that I will be adjusting my activities based on their learning styles. I think this is vital into integrating understanding for your just understanding your learners, and so I definitely will be using it. Learning styles. Again, I would let the group take the test. We would discuss all the aspects, characteristics of each temperament, kind of debate, discuss, open forum as well. Provided this little breakdown. Of course, I could put this as well as in a handout. How to accommodate. We could talk about flexible grouping, varied activities, and balanced instructional delivery. So not so many lectures, guys. We got to do better there. Next, I will be closing up this presentation with successful intelligence. Leave you with that quote. And finally, my works cited. I will leave this presentation and give you the posted link so you can go through at your own leisure. But thank you for listening. Teaching in a Diverse Classroom by David Sanchez.